Hi, this is I'll Explain. This is another I'll Explore, and this time we're not exploring this kit. We already did a explore of it. What we're exploring today is the upcoming Gunpla price adjustment, price rise in the next financial year for Japan, which would start in April of 2025. Now, this kit in particular isn't on that announcement from my perusal, at least. So it should not be affected at the moment. But since analytics says you guys like the Zaku FC, I would put on the Zaku 2FZ as the thumbnail. Now, the announcement was made at the start of November. There was some talk on the following days, but not too much after that. But not surprisingly, there are some questionable numbers being thrown around, so I think it warrants a video. If things go correctly, on my thumbnail and the title should be saying something like, 42% up in price, which is not accurate. One, like I said, this kit is not in that announcement, nor would be re-released next year yet. The second part is most of the kit on the list does not have or take the 42% hike. Most of them are around 15% up or down. Most of them are within 20% range, at least for the HG series. This is not a news channel, at least not at the moment, so I'll just talk about HG because they have the most significant by percentage price increase, which is the Zoc that for the last fortnight I have been trying to find but unable to, which is probably why they are going to re-release it next year. Now, why is the Zoc having such a steep price hike? Well, first let's get rid of the Zaku 2 FC because the Zaku 2 FC is not something within that price range. Within that price range is something like this. Of course, Eaglepla is a event or Gundam base exclusive, but the base HGUC GM is sort of in that price bracket. In fact, I think even the GM, the low GM that totally got PWN by these Charles Zoc cost more in retail price by what is it like? What do we got? 14%. So yeah, the regular release of the HGUC base GM is more expensive than the Zoc. You see why it should have or see a price hike, but it's not just that. The primary reason, aside from the Zoc being absolutely the cheapest HGUC or HG out there, is because since their release decades ago, Bandai didn't actually rise their price, at least not in Japan. Their MSRP have remained the same. They only changed the price according to the increase of GST in Japan. So that's another very good reason for Bandai to up the price of the Zoc, because Well, because Japan, the Japanese yen, if you have been planning or had been to Japan, have been very weak, and the inflation within Japan have skyrocketed for the past few years. So it makes sense that after decades of holding back, that Bandai would up the price along with a lot of relatively reason, but a lot of the kids on the list are decades old as well, because that's how long HG have been, and a lot of Bandai's kids just so much more advanced compared to, I wouldn't even say competitors, just other industrial peers. Bandai is so advanced, especially on the smaller, cheaper kits, like low price point kits. No one go anywhere close to what Bandai can do. Okay, done by and all the knockoff recasters, but they don't have the quality. Anyways, another reason is they actually have a kind of a fixed increase pricing for the stock. If the GM would see a price hike, it probably have the same about 330 yen increase, and it would once again bring it slightly more expensive than the ZOC. Uh, but that's mostly because this box is actually small. The Zaku FC is a larger box, but it contains pretty much the same amount of plastic. Just that the sprues of the GM is more space efficient, they can get away with a smaller box. This applies to the ZOC too, so that's probably why they need more of a price hike to offset the logistic costs. In fact, the increase in logistic costs for these guys is higher than some big box release like the Penelope, which I don't have on hand, but I have something similar in size. I have trouble fitting it on. Yeah. You know what? Let's zoom out. Yeah, that's the edge of my mat, and I don't want any. There's no other filmable surface. But yeah, I somehow grabbed one of these. But yeah, this is a box larger than most, and it's very thick. So it would be twice the size of any of the major HG box that you see otherwise. And yeah, the price increase if this thing goes to store or something of the same size like the Penelope, it would be, you know, cheaper compared to the GM, because density pretty much, not really how many of those you can hold. So that is the situation of the price increase. But while we are at price, I want to talk about something else. I don't have a normal GM or normal old school HUC GM build, but I do have this cold district. In fact, I think I should zoom back in. At least from the distance, you can't really see the seam line, or you might be able to, but they are not very noticeable. And in fact, when I put in our GTO GM interceptor next to it, you probably couldn't tell how much older this cold district type is. It is in fact decades older. You can't see it that far. Well, you can see the seam line here, but it's hard to tell until you take a closer look. Yeah, that's my very poor job of covering up the whitening. But yeah, until you get very close and see how it have no articulation out from the chest, until you see how this is just a 90-degree elbow and this is a double jointed elbow, that you realize how much more advanced the GM interceptor is compared to the code district type. So on one hand, yeah, even the code district type is infamously for how overcharged it is. We are safe to assume it would stay in that price range for quite a while, or at least when it comes to price increase, it will be relatively mild. While the code district type, if it comes back, we will see a steep price increase in comparison. Why would you buy this decade almost? Bandai obviously have just been cruising on their designs like the GTO slash Dawn's Island slash MS Discovery regular GM release just comes out like this, and everything was pretty much reseen on the Interceptor and the Guard custom, but we wanted to come out anyway. So yes, Bandai is holding off from releasing new products, but that doesn't make this OHG UCGM redundant, because things are different. That's the first part. The aesthetics are different. Yes, both of them is going for a balance between the anime look and realistic look, but there are some style difference between the two that it would be a heck a lot easier for consumers to get the reprints. The second reason is I think I still spend a night and a half on this GM Interceptor, even though it does not have a lot of parts. Of course, I am doing some very basic working on it, but it is, me casually cutting the bits off, figuring out where they goes, getting rid of, well, not a lot of nasty nubs on this one actually, thanks to the new molding technology, but a lot of finding out pretty much. Whereas this old kit, if you can't tell, it's just left, right, more left, right, from back, and they all snap on. So there are a simplicity and ease for advanced modeling, even if you are going for full painting and masking all the mold lines. It would be a lot simpler on the vintage. They do have their own challenges. Part separation isn't the best, but a lot of what you would do back then translate into the new kits. So you are, for the new kits, you are paying for what you might have to work for. So that's that balance. And finally, to be honest, the fandom exploded. The fandom exploded. Um, even old kids like this just got A up. That's why I can't find the Zoc. If I remember correctly, I think they had a reprint last year around this time. And yeah, those go out very fast as well. That is alongside with the RG Zoc. And if the new HG would provide challenges for people to build, you can imagine how much challenge does the RG pose to people. That's probably also why people want a OHG. Now there is obviously the conspiracy regarding to seat freedom and the Zoc in there, but they do they do make announcement of that already, so probably not, I guess, but people might still talk up the challenge for that. So if you ask me, even if the vintage reprints shot up in price, it's done very fairly. It is not, Bandai ripping you off. It's actually Bandai have been very gracious with their reprints. They did not increase the price for decades, and just that their whole system needs more juice to run, so they increased the price across the board, and the older, cheaper kids suffers. Nothing more. I will surely return to this guy later. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.